The rain hadn't stopped since James's funeral. The sound of it against the windows was almost cruel, reminding Eleanor Reynolds that silence could be louder than grief. Her son was gone, her only child, the light of her life. The house felt colder now, every corner echoing with memories she wasn't ready to face. Then, 3 days after the funeral, a letter arrived. It was from James's lawyer. With trembling hands, Eleanor opened it, expecting condolences. Instead, she found a sealed envelope and a key. "Your son wanted you to have this," the lawyer said softly. "He changed his will last month." Inside, it stated clearly, "The house, the cars, and the savings belong to my mother, Eleanor Reynolds." Her breath caught. Why would James leave everything to her, and nothing to his wife, Sophia? Sophia had always seemed devoted, always playing the perfect daughter-in-law. But beneath that smile, something had always felt off. Eleanor ignored the unease for years, blaming herself for being overprotective. That night, Sophia called. Her tone was cold, rehearsed. "I think we should meet at the house." Eleanor hesitated but agreed. When she arrived the next morning, Sophia was already there, standing in the doorway, smiling too sweetly, holding documents she clearly hadn't expected Eleanor to possess. As thunder cracked outside, Sophia's voice trembled for the first time. "You weren't supposed to find out." Eleanor stood frozen in the doorway, the soft patter of rain muffled behind her. Sophia's hands trembled as she held the documents, the color draining from her face. For a moment, neither woman spoke. The silence between them was heavy, filled with unspoken accusations and years of resentment disguised as politeness. I didn't know James changed the will," Sophia stammered. Eleanor's voice was calm, too calm. "Didn't you?" She stepped forward, eyes locked on her daughter-in-law's. "Then why were you at the lawyer's office the day before the funeral?" Sophia's expression cracked. A flicker of panic. Eleanor had always been quiet, gentle even, but grief had sharpened her instincts. She'd started connecting the dots, the mysterious withdrawals from James's account, the arguments she overheard late at night, the way Sophia's tone shifted whenever money was mentioned. Sophia forced a smile. "You're grieving. You're confused. James would have wanted me to handle things." Eleanor noticed then, the faint indentation on the table, where a document had recently been pressed down with a heavy hand. A forgery? A signature? She didn't know yet, but she knew something was very wrong. As Sophia tried to change the subject, Eleanor reached into her purse and pulled out James's old phone. "He left me this too," she said quietly. "There's a message he recorded a week before he died." Sophia's face went pale. Eleanor pressed play. James's voice filled the room, raw and shaking. "Mom, if you're hearing this, it means Sophia finally did it. Don't trust her. The truth is hidden in the house, in the box behind the fireplace." Sophia lunged for the phone. "Turn it off." Eleanor stepped back, heart pounding. "What did you do, Sophia?" The thunder outside rolled like an answer neither of them wanted to hear. That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. The sound of rain against the roof had become an echo of her heartbeat, steady, anxious, alive. James's words replayed in her mind, the box behind the fireplace. She waited until dawn, when the storm finally calmed. Wrapping her shawl tightly, she returned to the house. Everything smelled faintly of dust and regret. The fireplace, once the heart of family gatherings, now felt like a tombstone, cold and silent. Eleanor knelt beside it, running her fingers along the brickwork until she felt a hollow spot. Her breath caught. She pried it open with trembling hands and found a small wooden box, sealed shut with tape yellowed by time. A piece of paper was stuck beneath it, James's handwriting, unmistakable. "If anything happens to me, this is why." Her hands shook as she opened the box. Inside were photographs, bank statements, and a flash drive. Each photo told a story. Sophia smiling beside a man Eleanor didn't recognize, documents showing joint accounts in the Cayman Islands, legal papers transferring assets under false names. It wasn't just deceit, it was betrayal. Sophia hadn't just wanted James's money. She'd built an entire web of lies around him. Then Eleanor noticed a final item, a small velvet pouch. Inside was a ring. Not James's wedding band, another one, engraved with initials she'd never seen before, SW. Her stomach dropped. Before she could process it, the front door creaked open. Footsteps echoed across the hall. Snooping around, are we? Sophia's voice sliced through the silence. She was standing there, eyes burning, umbrella dripping onto the floor. I told you, Eleanor, you should have stayed out of this. Eleanor clutched the box to her chest. You murdered my son. Sophia's lips curved into a cruel smile. Murder? No. Let's just say, I helped fate along. Lightning flashed, and for the first time, Eleanor realized she wasn't alone in the house anymore. The rain had turned into a whisper outside, but inside the house, the tension was deafening. Eleanor's fingers clutched the wooden box like it was her only lifeline. Sophia took a step forward, her heels clicking against the marble floor, every sound slicing through the air like a blade. You think you found something? Sophia sneered. You don't even know what you're holding. Eleanor's voice was calm but steady, the kind that carried truth more than fear. I know enough. Enough to ruin you. Sophia laughed, that cruel, hollow kind of laugh that only the guilty seem to perfect. Oh, Eleanor, you're just a lonely old woman grasping at ghosts. James was weak. He couldn't handle what we built. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. What you built was a lie. She slowly backed toward the living room table, placing the box down, pretending to tremble while her fingers discreetly reached for James's flash drive. She slipped it into her pocket without Sophia noticing. Years of being underestimated had finally become her advantage. Sophia approached, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. Why don't we make this easy? You give me the box, I'll walk away, and no one gets hurt. Eleanor looked her dead in the eyes. You already hurt everyone, Sophia. Sophia lunged forward, and in the chaos, the ring from the pouch fell to the ground. It rolled across the floor and stopped at Sophia's feet. Her gaze flickered, just for a second, fear. Eleanor saw it. That tiny, trembling moment of guilt. Then headlights flashed through the window. A car stopped outside. A man's silhouette appeared. Sophia froze. Eleanor whispered, expecting someone? Sophia's confidence cracked completely. No, no one was supposed to come. Eleanor smiled for the first time in days. Then it's your turn to be surprised. Outside, the figure stepped closer, and the front door began to open. The front door creaked open with the slow, heavy groan of old wood. Both women turned toward it, the air between them electric, breathless. A tall man stepped inside, rain dripping from his coat. His face was half hidden beneath the shadow of his hat, but the moment Sophia saw him, the color drained from her skin. You, she whispered, you're supposed to be dead. Eleanor's pulse raced. Who is he, Sophia? The man shut the door behind him with a deliberate click. My name doesn't matter, he said, his voice low and hoarse, but I was James's friend, once. He looked straight at Sophia, until she betrayed us both. Sophia stumbled backward. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I know, the man said, removing his hat. His eyes were cold steel. You made him sign everything over to you, then left him to die. You thought no one would ever find out. He turned toward Eleanor. Your son wanted to expose her. He came to me for help. That's why she tried to silence us both. Eleanor's knees weakened. The truth was heavier than grief itself. Sophia's mask shattered. You think anyone will believe you? You're an ex-con. You and James were running your own schemes. The man smirked. Maybe, but one of us had a conscience. He pulled out a USB drive, identical to the one in Eleanor's pocket. 2 copies, he said quietly. James made sure of it. Sophia's voice broke into a scream. You don't understand. I did what I had to do. He was leaving me with nothing. Eleanor's calm returned, a strange, quiet strength born of pain. You already had everything, she said softly. And it still wasn't enough. The man placed the drive on the table. It's all there. The transfers, the emails, even the video. The police will have it by morning. Sophia's expression turned wild. You'll regret this, she hissed. Maybe, Eleanor replied. But not as much as you will. Lightning lit up the room again, reflecting off the rain-soaked windows. 3 figures trapped in a storm of truth and betrayal. Sophia's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. Her hair clung to her face, mascara running down in thin black lines. The rain outside had turned violent again, hammering the windows as if the world itself demanded justice. "You think this ends here?" she snapped. "You think you can just hand that over to the cops and walk away?" Eleanor stood firm, her voice calm but cutting. "It's not about walking away. It's about finally standing for something." Sophia reached into her bag, fast, frantic. The man, still near the door, instinctively stepped forward. "Don't," he warned. But Sophia's hand emerged not with a weapon, but with a lighter. She flicked it once, a small flame dancing at the edge of her trembling fingers. "You don't get it," she said, her voice trembling between rage and despair. "If I go down, I'm taking everything with me. Every piece of evidence, every trace of him, gone." Eleanor stared at her. "You'd burn his memory just to save yourself?" Sophia's laugh cracked. "He was never yours to begin with. He belonged to me." The man lunged forward, trying to snatch the lighter. It fell, clattering against the floor. The tiny flame sputtered, then caught the edge of a curtain. Within seconds, smoke filled the air. "Get out!" Eleanor shouted. The man grabbed her arm, but Eleanor turned back for the box. Sophia tried to stop her, coughing violently, screaming, "It's mine." "No," Eleanor said, her voice steady even through the chaos. "It's his." She yanked the box from the table, clutching it to her chest. The fire spread fast, devouring the velvet pouch, licking at the walls. The house that once held so much love was now collapsing under the weight of its own lies. They stumbled toward the door, but Sophia stayed behind, frozen, eyes fixed on the burning documents. "I can fix this," she whispered to herself. "I can still fix this." Eleanor turned one last time. "You can't fix what you destroyed." The roof cracked with a thunderous snap. Flames roared. And in that split second, Sophia disappeared into the smoke. Outside, under the storm's fury, Eleanor fell to her knees, clutching the charred box. The man placed a hand on her shoulder. "She's gone," he said quietly. Eleanor looked up at him, tears mixing with rain. "No," she whispered. She finally faced the truth. The morning light broke through the storm's aftermath, casting a pale glow over what was left of the house. Smoke still curled upward from the ruins, and the air smelled of charred wood and memories. Firefighters moved in silence, their boots crunching on wet debris. Eleanor sat on the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a gray blanket that couldn't stop the shaking in her hands. The wooden box, blackened at the edges but miraculously intact, rested beside her. She couldn't take her eyes off it. The man from last night, now without his coat, approached quietly. "You should go to the hospital," he said softly. Eleanor shook her head. "I'm fine. I've been burned before. Just not like this." A young officer approached. "Ma'am, we found remains inside. We believe it's Ms. Bondi." Eleanor closed her eyes, the words sinking in like stones. "She made her choice," she whispered. She couldn't let go of the lies. The officer hesitated. "We'll need a statement. But, we also found something in the debris. A safe. It was welded shut but, the heat cracked it." He handed Eleanor a small, heat-stained envelope sealed with a wax mark, James's initials. Her heart dropped. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper and a flash drive. The note read, "If you're reading this, Mom, it means she finally paid the price. Don't hate her. She was just afraid. Keep this safe, it's the truth about everything." Her breath caught. She handed the drive to the man beside her. "You said you were his friend. Finish what he started." He nodded, slipping it into his pocket. "I'll make sure the world sees it." Eleanor turned back toward the smoldering ruins. The house was gone, but for the first time in years, she felt something resembling peace. The camera of a local news crew zoomed in on her face, not broken, not defeated, but resolved. The reporter's voiceover echoed through living rooms across the country. After a tragic fire, new evidence in the Bondi case may finally expose the truth behind years of corruption and betrayal. Eleanor looked straight at the lens, her eyes steady. "Tell them," she said quietly. "The truth didn't die here." 3 days later, Eleanor's face was on every news channel in America. Morning shows called her the mother who brought the truth to light. Talk show hosts dissected every second of the fire, every word from the note, every flicker of guilt they thought they saw in her eyes. But Eleanor wasn't chasing fame. She sat alone in a quiet motel room off the interstate, watching her son's story unfold through strangers' voices. Every headline carried James's name: whistleblower's death now tied to political scandal, evidence surfaces of years-long fraud. The flash drive had done its job. The files revealed bribes, shell companies, and offshore accounts, all tracing back to Sophia's carefully constructed empire. Within 48 hours, prosecutors reopened the case James had once tried to expose. Yet, in that motel room, victory felt hollow. Eleanor turned the charred box over and over in her hands. Inside it, beneath the ashes and letters, she found something she hadn't noticed before: a small silver key taped under the lid. "What were you hiding, James?" she whispered. Her phone buzzed. It was the man, the one who had helped her escape the fire. "Eleanor," he said, voice tight. "You need to see this." Not all the files made it to the press. She frowned. "What do you mean?" "There's one video. James recorded it the night he died." Eleanor's blood ran cold. "Send it." A pause. "No. You need to see it in person. Tonight." The old warehouse near the docks. The line went dead. Outside, thunder rumbled again. The same storm that had started everything was rolling back in. Eleanor slipped the silver key into her pocket and stared into the mirror. The woman looking back at her wasn't fragile anymore. Her eyes were clear, sharp, ready. She whispered to herself, "One more truth." The motel TV played faintly in the background as she walked out the door, the reporter's voice saying, in a shocking twist, "Investigators believe the fire may have been deliberate." Eleanor didn't look back. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running from the truth, she was chasing it. The old warehouse near the docks was silent except for the rhythmic drip of rain leaking through the roof. A single lamp flickered in the center, casting long, trembling shadows across the cracked concrete floor. Eleanor stepped inside, her shoes echoing in the emptiness. The man, his coat soaked from the storm, stood beside a dusty laptop on a wooden crate. He looked up as she entered. "You sure you want to see this?" Eleanor didn't hesitate. "Play it." He nodded and pressed a key. The screen came to life, static first, then a shaky image of James sitting at his desk, exhaustion painted across his face. Behind him, the same box now resting in Eleanor's hands. "Mom," his voice cracked slightly. "If this gets to you, it means I didn't make it." Eleanor's breath hitched. She gripped the edge of the crate. "I didn't tell you everything," he continued. Sophia wasn't working alone. She was part of something bigger, something that reaches far beyond her. "I found proof, but I'm being followed. They know I have it." He leaned closer to the camera, eyes heavy but defiant. "I tried to keep you safe, Mom. That's why I gave Sophia the box. She wasn't supposed to open it. She was supposed to protect it." Eleanor's heart sank. "Oh, James," she whispered. James looked down for a moment, then smiled weakly. "If they tell you I took my own life, don't believe it. The truth is bigger than me. Bigger than all of us. And if you're watching this, it means it's your turn to finish it." The video ended abruptly, no farewell, no explanation. Just silence. Eleanor stood frozen, staring at the black screen. The man spoke softly. "The files he mentioned, they were encrypted. That's what the key is for." She took out the silver key from her pocket, her hand trembling. "What's on them?" He hesitated. "Names. Dates. And something else," a list of offshore accounts tied to people you've seen on TV every day. Eleanor felt her stomach twist. You mean politicians? He nodded grimly. And not just them. She turned away, gripping the box tighter. I thought this was about James, she murmured. But this is about everyone he was trying to save. The man placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then don't let them bury it. Eleanor looked at him, the faint light catching the determination in her eyes. I won't, she said quietly. Not this time. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the metal roof, steady, relentless, like the heartbeat of truth itself. Eleanor tucked the drive into her coat, straightened her posture, and stepped toward the door. Behind her, the screen still glowed faintly, frozen on her son's face, smiling, brave, immortalized in pixels and pain. It was almost midnight when the broadcast went live. The same network that once praised Sophia Bondi's empire now carried Eleanor's trembling face to millions of homes. She sat in the same studio where her son had once tried, and failed, to tell his story. But this time, the truth had a voice the world could not ignore. The lights flickered on. The producer counted down. 3, 2, 1. Eleanor leaned forward, the silver key still hanging from a chain around her neck. My name is Eleanor Hart, she began, her tone calm but unyielding. And for years, I believed my son died because he was reckless. I was wrong. He died because he told the truth. Behind her, screens flashed images, files, documents, names of powerful figures intertwined in corruption and deceit. Each image was like a blow to the foundation of power. They tried to silence him, Eleanor continued. They burned down my home. They thought if they erased the evidence, the story would end. But stories don't die. People do. Her eyes glistened, but her voice never wavered. I'm not afraid anymore. Because when you lose everything, fear has nothing left to hold on to. My son's voice will not fade into static. Not tonight. She lifted a small USB drive, the same one from the box, and placed it on the desk. This, she said, is what they didn't want you to see. The producer nodded, pressing a button. The studio screens came alive again, broadcasting encrypted files, transaction logs, videos, irrefutable evidence of the empire her son had exposed. The world watched in stunned silence. Phones buzzed. Feeds exploded. By dawn, the story was everywhere. When the cameras cut, Eleanor exhaled slowly. The man who'd helped her, now revealed as an independent journalist, smiled faintly. You did it. Eleanor shook her head. No. We did it. James did it. Outside, the city was quiet, the first light of morning creeping across the skyline. Eleanor stepped out of the studio, the rain finally gone, leaving the streets shining like glass. She whispered to herself, voice trembling but free. The truth doesn't die with the ones who speak it. It just waits, for someone brave enough to say it again. And with that, she walked away, into a new day, where silence no longer ruled, and her son's legacy echoed in every headline across the nation.